Look at that, man. For the first time in 2025, kids. Welcome to Fat Man Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
I am Marc Bernard.
Hey,
Hi, everybody.
kids, as you well know, we do our broadcast mostly from the city of Angels, Los Angeles. Last time we did the show, we were actually at the Scum and Villainy Cantina in Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard. When we stream like this, I'm in the Hollywood Hills. Marc lives. Have you ever disclosed where you are?
I'm in the San Fernando Valley.
Marc's in the Valley. So it's a long way of saying we are in California and have been in California. And as you well know, because I'm sure it's been all over the news, California experienced a horrendous set of wildfires exacerbated by historic winds. And so, I'm sorry, the dog is like just drinking the fuck. Can you hear that? Listen.
Yeah.
That is a fucking thirsty shepherd. Are you all right? You all right, Wacky? So yes, kids, we're going to be talking about
Thirsty bitch.
I mean, you know what? You're literally accurate. Female dog. So you aren't just being hip. That's fucking. Was it Kingdom and Phylum? No, I forget. How do you classify?
King Philip came over from Great Spain. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, genus, species, I think.
What the fuck? Who are you? Goodwill Hunting? What is that? How do you know that?
It's the mnemonic. It's King Philip came over from Great Spain. So kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species.
Damn impressive shit, man.
The one fucking thing that stuck from like 11th grade science.
I mean, it fucking did stick. God, every day school day, you learn some things. Okay, man. We're done talking about my dog's drinking problem because, as you can hear, things have gone silent. So much to talk about, kids. We'll give you some fire stories. First off, before we go anywhere, my heart goes out to all those who've lost homes, people, loved ones, like so much loss out here at this moment in time. But a hearty hail thank you for every firefighter. LAFD folks came in from like Oregon, Washington, Vegas,
Mexico,
Canada sent those water planes, which I had read somewhere online. They were like, sadly, those water planes scooped up a dolphin and they found a dolphin in somebody. Then I saw a fucking news report about the water plane where they were like, this is how they work. The intake valve is fucking fascinating. I mean, naturally, a lot of us out here in California have been doom scrolling for like a week straight, just watching any piece of news we can and whatnot. So, you know, those planes probably saved my home. We'll get to that in a bit. So I was like, I got to know everything about these seaplanes. The intake valve, Marc, is like no bullshit. Let me find something that was aggregate. Honestly, no bigger than a comic book. Like the guy was like, so here's the two intake valves, and he opens it and it just kind of comes out of the bottom of the plane, and it's about this thick all around, and it's got, you know, like, not, I wouldn't say filters, but like squares. It's not one big hole.
Mm-hmm.
So a fish, let alone a dolphin, could not get into the belly of this plane. There's a lot of misinformation out there on the internet about these fires. I saw images of the Hollywood sign on fire and like looked out my window to be like, no, wait, reality is not reality anymore. But meanwhile, as I left my hill, I saw fire coming over Runyon, and that was real. That was not a photo. I mean, I did take a photo of it. JC's going to throw it up there. BAMF Man, pop in. Where are you in relation to these flames?
BAMF. I was direct halfway between the Hearst fire and the Eaton fire. So like right in the middle. So luckily they were moving like away from me, because if they had, I was like halfway between both of them at like the same kind of level. It was pretty scary.
Um, yeah. I mean, look, we live in earthquake country out here, but that's something that like you tend not to think about. Kind of like in the 80s, how we didn't really want to think about the looming threat of nuclear war, the Cold War and whatnot. Out here, you just like the earthquakes are an underlying, unspoken about threat that when it rears its head, when you get tremors and stuff, you're reminded of nature's power. We've certainly, there have been fires out in California, and it happens. You know, we're in a desert, and in the case of what just happened recently, those winds, man, which I'd never seen anything like it. Like I looked out in the morning before the fire stuff happened, and the like trees that never bent before, I was watching bend, and I was like, "Good Lord, are we in the eye of a hurricane?" And then they kept talking about it in the news, like Santa Ana's are off the charts and historic, and you could see it. But then when all of a sudden they were like, "There's a fire out in the Palisades," instantly you started doing the math about like, well, with winds like this is the worst time to have a fire. So it eventually, you know, it kind of like JC and kind of like Mark, I imagine I was in an area that wasn't under immediate threat. Like this was all, what would you say, west of us? Yes, out toward the coast.
Southwest, yeah. I mean, for you, direct the west, for me, southwest.
And where we are, generally, we never get fires. When I say we, I mean in the Hollywood Hills. Um, I'm like 2 blocks up from Hollywood itself, like 3 blocks up from the Chinese theater. So it's an area that you don't normally think of as a potential threat for wildfires, and yet out of nowhere, I forget which night it was. All of a sudden, they announced, you know, Runyon Canyon's on fire. Runyon Canyon's where I go like hiking every day. I post pictures on Instagram. I always take the dogs up there, and that was when we got the evacuation notice. And the picture that BAMF Man put up, that was I took a photo just as I was leaving my hill, because that's what was coming over Runyon Canyon. And the next steps for that fire is down the hill and straight into our neighborhood. So I thought that was that. Like, I honestly, as I pulled away, I was like, you know, and oddly, I was not like, we've lost everything. I was just like, what are you gonna do, man? Like nature shrugged, and here comes, you know, an unstoppable wall of flame. So I got like pretty zen about it fairly quickly, enough to stop, take a picture, and kind of reflect, like, you know, well, we had 22 good years, but mercifully those water planes, man, they dropped 15 loads in 15 minutes, bang bang bang, and took out the Runyon fire like so fast. So in my case, very lucky. Did have to evacuate, but unscathed, untouched. The fire never went over the top of the hill. That picture I took, that wall of flame, as soon as I took off, I guess the planes started coming in and hitting it. But man, my heart goes out to everybody, and my hat goes off to every damn firefighter out there, and the skill it takes. It's crazy. Can't look away from social media and YouTube to watch videos of like these helicopters with buckets of water making these incredible fucking maneuvers and like dropping like almost pinpoint accuracy like on flame. It's crazy. Like we've always appreciated firefighters. You know, I work with the Friends of Firefighters organization, fundraising and stuff like that. Who doesn't love a firefighter? Now more than ever, for heaven's sakes, man. Like I'm seeing their work like up close right here in the community, and they literally saved my home, Mark. Not just my home, but all the homes in my neighborhood. I'm not saying they went out of their way to save my home, but like they saved our neighborhood, man. It's I'm nothing but thankful.
Yeah, there was some tweeter, blue sky skeet or whatever the hell you call those, that said something to the effect of, "There's a reason why there are no songs that say fuck the fire department."
This is a good point, man.
I will say I lived in Miami for a while and was in a couple hurricanes, and the winds at my house, because I'm up like your Hollywood Hills, I'm in the hills like the San Gabriel Verdugo mountain hills, at about 2,000 feet elevation, and the winds up here were 95 miles an hour, which sounded the same as the hurricane I was in Miami, about the same wind speeds. To give you an idea, it sounded like a freight train just continually driving down my street.
We talked about the firefighter, the help that came in from other states. Um, as has been reported in many places, and something I was unaware of, but somebody brought up in chat, the incarcerated firefighters.
Hmm.
Like, I guess they go to folks who are in jail and they're like, "You want to come out and fight the fire? We'll give you like $5 or $10 a day or something like that." And I watched, like, that caught my attention where I was like, "That's a thing." And then I watched like one of the local news reports, like KTLA has been doing excellent coverage. All the local news has been doing excellent coverage. And there was a piece where they spoke to the incarcerated firefighters, and they were like, I'm just happy to help. And, I don't know. I understand that, like, outside of the community, there are people that have very strong opinions about what is happening here and what should have happened and what didn't happen and whatnot. All I see while we're here is a community coalescing and coming together. Unless you guys tell me if I'm wrong, I'm not aware of anyone fucking fighting. All I'm aware of is people trying to help. Like, in the last day alone, like, there were people like, "Will you do a Comic-Con with us next month to raise money?" I said, "Absolutely." And then there was a thing that I couldn't do because I'm going to be back east that Jason's doing, like another fundraiser. I was asked to do another fundraiser at the type, what is it called? Dynasty Typewriter. Like, you're seeing the better, nature, or better angels of their nature kind of come out across the boards. Yes, there are stories about, like, people who are trying to loot, and stories, more importantly, of people who are caught and prosecuted very quickly because they're making sure that, like, people aren't, making people's lives even worse in this hour of crisis. But generally, very positive stories. It sounds condescending, like, and very old manish and daddish, but I guess I am an old man and a dad at this point. Kind of proud of this place. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of pain out there right now, and yet people are coming together hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny that, especially not being from here,
Yeah.
you and I are both transplants, and the perspective you have on LA specifically as somebody from out of state is informed entirely by the media that you've seen over the course of your life, and sometimes it's cute and good and wonderful. It's the Brady Bunch. Sometimes it's Beverly Hills 90210. Sometimes it's Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Sometimes all of it is skewed and none of it is actually reflective of the communities and the people who live here. The misconception that everybody who lives in the Palisades is rich. The misconception that everybody here is a celebrity. Everybody lives in the Hollywood Hills is a billionaire. And the reality is that, like, everybody is from somewhere, everybody has something to lose, and too many people have lost things. There's nobody who lives in Southern California at this point who was not in some way affected by this. And that doesn't mean that you had to have lost your house or that you had to have been displaced, even though lots of people have been. But we all know a person who is trying to stitch a life together out of ashes. We all know somebody who's had to, find an Airbnb for a family. And the people who get hit the worst are like the undocumented community, are the laborers, are the like, I used to clean this house for this person and this person doesn't have a house anymore. I don't have a job anymore. I was living paycheck to paycheck and now I don't have a paycheck. What does that do for me? And there's a lot of that in Los Angeles, and everybody's hurting, but everybody's pulling together. You see these sort of like swap meet charity events where people are dropping off clothes and water and food, and sometimes just volunteering because they want to do it, and having to turn away bodies because they just don't have enough space for you to come and help. It is incredibly inspiring to watch a community just kind of ante up and kick in. It does remind me a little bit of kind of being in New York post 9/11, post tragedy, and just watching everybody kind of look out for each other and help when they can and lick their wounds when they're not helping somebody else, and finding a path towards just healing. And it's devastating, and one of the things that I did notice and had to do a little digging into is just, the Palisades, 100%. I get it. It's all bad. But like Altadena specifically was one of the first places in the country where African Americans could buy a house without redlining, in the 30s, like even, just pre-war, post-war. If you were a veteran and you had a little bit of money and you wanted to come buy a house, Altadena was one of the first places in the country you could do that. So there was legitimate generational investment of 3 and 4, generations of people who had lived in this place and lived in this house, and history was on fire. And just watching people say, you know what, just a house, even though it was my grandfather's house, it's just a house. We're alive, the family's alive, and we'll rebuild the thing. The devastation goes far, far deeper than just real estate, and the healing will take far, far longer than just rebuilding a house. But watching everybody just try and help everybody it's a beautiful thing.
In the chat, JC's doing a very good job of keeping the folks who are trying to gin up anger. And as you could tell, we're not here for that. Like, so, save it. Like, there are plenty of places people will get angry out there on the internet. We're not here to do that today. Today's the day of sadness, and aside from the fires, we lost a great filmmaker. Like, it's yeah. Please, folks, like, don't try to make people angry, like, over. Oh, good Lord. Anywho, so let me. I would like to address a personal phenomenon. I want to see if it echoes with either of you. But before we do that, perhaps we should thank a sponsor.
Good call.
Yeah, kids. You know who we gathered here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, to celebrate this thing called Fat Man Beyond. Thanks to the good folks at Mando. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you want to follow along and whatnot, go right now to let's see, shopmando.com, shopmando.com, man. If you're gonna do anything, you use that code FATMAN. Mando, kids, we've been talking about it for years, because we talked about it in 2024 and we're talking about it in 2025. That is technically 2 years. So for years we've been extolling the virtues of Mando here at Fat Man Beyond, and they got the right products, man. They got what you need. They got the stuff that makes you smell damn good. You don't even have to rub a stick on you anymore, man. When me and Mark were kids, we had one option: For your left arm, you use left guard, and for your right arm, you used right guard. And that was it. Now they make deodorant that like is in a wipe. Like if you're gonna wipe your ass or wipe your face, like they make them now. You just do this and they pitch it out. We live in the future, kids. It's that simple. The Jetsons are here, and Mando's made it possible. Tell them, Mark.
I mean, listen, it's a whole body deodorant. You can use it anywhere on your body, man. Pits, balls, thigh folds, belly buttons, butt cracks, feet, armpits, behind your ears, whatever you need. Created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. And this shit is chemically, clinically proven to block odor all day and all night. Controls it for up to 72 hours, man. You get the deodorant stick, solid state, man. Spray deodorant, left guard, right guard, better. Aluminum free, ideal for hard to reach places. Fucking wipes, amazing. All good. You can have a variety of scents like bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport, man. America's #1 whole body deodorant. You want to try it right now? Find them at Walmart, Target, other retailers. But for the best deals, you go to shopmando.com. Use the code FATMAN.
That's right, kids. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers, man. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like the mini body wash and the deodorant wipes, as the aforementioned deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use the code FATMAN, FATMAN, at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you, man. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
Indeed. Yes. Shopmando.com. Fucking do it. Starter code FATMAN. Do it.
We thank good folks at Mando for sponsoring this here episode of Fat Man Beyond. When I fled, I took Precious Little with me. We had enough time to like throw things in a bag and stuff. Naturally, I took like every laptop I ever had. What else did I take? I took 5 like jackets because I was like, I'm gonna have to work. My jorts, naturally. And my entire Silent Bob outfit. Because I was like, I think we're making that movie this year. I can't have it. I need my Silent Bob outfit. So I brought that. Naturally, of course, like these are possessions. The dogs goes without saying. My wife goes without saying. She packed her shit as well. The dogs, we didn't allow them to pack their own shit. They're real pack rats. But I grabbed my father's ashes, which only when I like left and got to safety was I was like, why? You know, I'm like, it just, I was like, you saved Ash from what is certain to be Ash. Like, it just seemed like a weird grab. But then when I saw my kid, she was like, no, I grabbed my bunny's ashes. Her rabbit just died like, you know, a couple of weeks ago and stuff.
Man.
And then, so I wasn't like, oh, I'm normal. I was like, oh, my kid is also like me, abnormal. Didn't grab the right things. But this is, I oddly was calm throughout. Like Harley, we do a podcast called Beardless, Dickless Me. And the episode we did, Harley was talking about how Austin, her boyfriend, the star of the 430 movie, now on home video. Austin was the panicky one. And I was like, oh yeah, I had one of those too. I thought Jennifer was more panicky of the two of us. I was very calm and zen. But I have noticed that my like post-traumatic response has been like my comfort, like, and I was only analyzed by somebody else. They were like, what a cute way that you're treating your trauma. And I was like, what trauma? And they're like, clearly like the fire affected you more than you seem to notice. I've been on eBay every day buying old Bullwinkle things. And I think, I'm no analyst, but if I can fucking Freud it from the sidelines, amateur Freud it, like it's not just like Bullwinkle, it's like toys that I had as a kid. I think because I'm not going to say we were so close to death, but I think because it was like, oh my God, like, you know, that wall of flame definitely made an impact, left an impression. And I think I'm not retreating into childhood, but seeking the comfort of when life was fresh and young,
Mhm.
as opposed to, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I have bought so much fucking Bullwinkle shit, dude. Like, look at this amazing piece. It's under
Oh,
glass,
wow.
you know,
That's gorgeous.
fucking $30. I was so happy. Came out like, you know, 20 years ago, but I didn't see it, wasn't aware of it.
Mm.
But yeah, I think, and nothing I'm buying it. It's not like I bought a $10,000 boat. All this shit is cheap, and it's crazy how much I will haggle as well. And people find out that it's me. Like at the end, they're like, are you Kevin Smith? Kevin Smith? Like, why are you trying to get $3 off, dude? But I'm like, you know, like anybody, if I'm at a flea market, I want to haggle. I want to get the best price I can. But it has been very like that's been my it's been oddly comforting. I think that's why. I think it's like some sense of like retreating to a less complex time as response to, you know, what could have been a life-changing event.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Totally. I
Joshua Mundhall in chat says it's called retail therapy. I guess there's a term of art for it. I had
but
no
it's
idea.
but there's a specific kind of retail therapy because yes, buying shit to make yourself feel better is one thing, but there's the desire to recapture innocence through purchasing relics of the past. I think is different than just retail therapy. Like retail therapy is I bought an expensive purse, I bought this watch, I needed to buy a thing because new things make me feel good.
Right.
So yeah, I think it is, you
Yeah,
know,
this ain't that. I mean, technically they are new to me, but these are old things.
yeah, you
Like, you
know,
know what else I fucking bought? Like, oh my
uh,
God. I bought like two unopened, sealed on the card, circa 1978, 79, with the Bradley sticker still on it, a 2-pack of Weebles, bro. I was like, what? Unopened Weebles? Like, bro, they looked like the Weebles that I was handed as a child, like on the card. Who saves it? And a really decent price. Like, if you'd asked me how much you think fucking mint on card Weebles go for, I'd be like, I don't know, 20, $40,000. Like, you know, I have no these fucking Weebles were $10. They brought me so much joy.
well, they wobble and they don't fall down.
You're not kidding, man. See, and that's strong marketing because we still remember. But it made me go down a rabbit hole where I was like, I used to have the Weeble submarine. Does anyone have that? I found one of those as well. I might take a tub for the first time in fucking 40 years because I got my Weeble submarine back. This may be, maybe I'm Charles Foster Kane. You know what I'm saying? Like, am I searching for Rosebud?
Just Weebles. Weebles on his deathbed. What's Weeble? Oh, don't fall down.
I guess we'll never know what he meant. What are you fucking nuts? He meant Weebles.
I mean, I do think that there is something to the idea that when faced with trauma, there can be a tendency to look back instead of forward. You know, like I remember during the pandemic, during the lockdowns, I was not watching a ton of new television. I was watching a lot of old television. A lot of like, let's go back to the thing that I know that I like, that is just going to be the warm blanket that I kind of need. Even when I was working, I found it difficult to make new things, but rewriting old things, I could do quite a bit. You know, we were working on that Green Person show, and I was like, happy to do this work, but I coming up with a brand new thing of my own was impossible. So I will happily do this other work that belongs to somebody else. It's about another thing. Um, I think it's somewhat natural that the new is as scary as the uncertain, and at an uncertain time, you'd want the old. which you can reliably look back on and be like, yep, feel great. Thank you.
It is. I'm telling you, man, it was, it has been like therapeutic. And again, if it was like problematically expensive, I would probably say something, but like, it's crazy how cheap happiness is. They say money can't buy happiness, and they're probably right, but it can buy a bunch of fucking Bullwinkle shit that puts a smile on my face. I don't know if that's happiness, but fucking, it's good times, absolute good times. What else did I buy? I'm trying to think. Obviously, that blanket behind me on the chair. Somebody was like, "Is that Bullwinkle?"
Yep.
There was this when I was a kid. I used to go. My parents take me to the dentist, and afterwards, we would go out to eat. We would go to like Perkins Pancake House, and they sold these plastic figurines that they had on shelves behind them, and they were never in boxes. They were just standing there. And like, my parents would buy me one anytime we went to the dentist. And to show you what a fucking filthy mouth I've had my whole life, I had Smokey the Bear, the Pink Panther, Popeye, Olive Oil, Yosemite Sam. So at least 5, maybe 6. I had no context for them other than, my parents would get those for me whenever I got a cavity. So I had a lot of cavities at Perkins. So while I'm fucking doing this, Bullwinkle fucking deep dive, find out, like, I see these two a Bullwinkle and a Rocky made by a company called Dakin, Dakin. And so I'm like, fuck, that looks like the plastic figurines that I used to get when I was a kid. And I still have like Smokey the Bear and the Popeye and the Olive Oil and the Yosemite Sam. I can't find the Pink Panther, but I did see it on eBay, so I might buy it. And it was the same family. And so I found a Bullwinkle and Rocky that I never knew existed from that run of toys that I would get when I had a fucking cavity. So I bought them, and they weren't even that expensive. I think I paid like $50 for 2. And these fuckers came from the 70s, bro. Like, they're legit antiques. And they were mint, like as mint as they could be, in the box, still with the shit, fucking twisty around their neck. And I got to see like the box that they all came in that I never saw. I was like, the world got bigger. At age 54, somehow the world got a little bigger when I was like, holy shit, man. There was a story behind the story. I got the toys when they're out of box. Somebody at Perkins would be like, fucking box. And they'd throw it out, put the fucking thing on the shelf, man. Nuts. The little pieces of fucking history I'm finding out while I go eBay shopping. I bought a lot of glasses, drinking glasses and mugs, more than I'll ever use. I never use them, but they just look good on the shelf. Then I did a peanut. Oh, fuck, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm buying a lot of artwork and did really decent prices. Sells from some of my favorite commercials. So a beautiful Captain Crunch cell I got. I got it. What was the other one? I bought a fucking fantastic Super Friends Cirrus cell that I think was probably sold at the Warner Brothers store back in the day. And I used to buy a lot of Warner Brothers store art, all the Batman animated series stuff and whatnot. But we let that go long ago. We sold it through the store. But they had this one piece of the Super Friends that I had to get. And it was like, the piece was unframed, $95. I was like, fucking done. And it had the original Super Friends on it from the very first, maybe not the first season, because the first season is only the 4 heroes. That's the first season has the Ted Knight voiceover, where it's just like, here in this great hall are 4 of the greatest superheroes the world has ever known, and it's Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Aquaman. Right. But this Cirrus cell I bought has those 4, also has Robin, and then has one more, which I think was the following season. I am fucking blatantly trying to buy back my childhood. I get it. I just
checks out. Myself. Checks out. Do the thing.
It really does. How you been self-caring?
It's funny. Like I went to a new barbershop the other day, And kids, 27 years old, cutting my hair and trying to get to know me in standard barbershop conversations. Like, hey man, you got any hobbies? I'm like, man, I don't have hobbies. I got homework. I watch movies, I watch TV shows, I read comic books, and I play video games. It just so happens that I love all of those things. And all of those things are the things that I do for work. And so there is no like, I crochet or I like to play golf. It's just everything that I do that I like to do is just shit that ends up funneling its way into what I get paid to do. But it's been a lot of like um a lot of board gamey time. Like my son's been home from college. He just went back to school today. But rather than all of us sit on our phones playing fucking, Candy Crush or whatever, my wife's like, hey, all right, we got these board games. Let's play fucking categories. Let's play Uno. Let's play whatever. We bought a lot of games during the holidays. So just sitting around a table, with three adults and just trying to maintain a adult relationship with my son. Not that it's hard. It's not like it's requiring some kind of advanced level of psychological acumen. It's just let's all just fucking sit around a table and talk and hang out. So I've been doing a lot of that, playing some older video games again, just because they sort of made me feel good. To your point, but yeah, man, it's been a weird stretch. Like I was sick a little bit over the break, even before the fires happened, and then once one person in the house is sick, then everybody's fucking sick. So the baton of illness was being passed around my house. But it's just I did find myself watching a lot of it. I remember as a kid, again, we talked about a little bit that the LA we knew was from the movies we watched and the TV shows that we saw. And when the fire started to pop off and when things began to go away and all of that sort of heartache and stuff like that, I just started going back to some of those movies. It's like I want to watch ET again. I want to see the valley that way. Like I want to watch the Rockford Files, and like Rockford lived in a fucking trailer on Point Doom or Zoom, I think is where it I remember the first movie that I think I saw that I pieced together that was actually LA was Terminator. And it was when I first came to LA as a grown-up. And I remember like I was driving down Overland approaching Pico, and I was like, that's what the cop says when he's chasing the Terminator in the car. I'm westbound on Overland approaching Pico. Like, I didn't know that. I see the Nakatomi Tower. Like, all of that shit is just the LA that existed in my head before I ever got here.
Right.
That it felt, I don't know if it feels weird to be looking at, old movies about stuff that was in danger or jeopardy and being threatened, but I don't know. It just made me feel kind of reconnected with this place, with the reasons why I fell in love with it and how I fell in love with
We love LA.
it. We do.
Hang in there, Hollywood. And hang in there, every place else. I just went with the H and the H. I went for alliteration, but my alliteration isolated everyone else. That's a lot of alliteration right there.
It very much is. Alliteration, isolation.
All right, man. Let's talk about something that's not the fire.
No.
For those who are like, hey, man, are we ever going to talk about it in chat? Everyone's been very patient and stuff, but not everyone's from out here. And while they have been interested to hear our take, naturally, they would like us to talk about other things. One of the things we're going to talk about, kids, is that trailer for Daredevil Born Again. The punchiest, hittiest, bloodiest Disney Plus trailer ever made. That trailer is just like, hey, man, remember what you loved about Daredevil? It ain't going away. Like the plus in Disney Plus is for plus more punching. It is. I'm not, it looks fantastic. Let's just get that out of the way. But my God, that trailer screams, make sure they know he's going to fight the way he fought on Netflix.
Yeah. Like I remember the reporting came out when they first announced Daredevil Born Again. And they were like, It's going to be a sort of legal courtroom drama, heavy on the legal. We want to see Matt Murdock lawyer, and we're doing like 18 episodes. We're just for the first season alone. We're fucking. It's Law and Order with a guy who can't see, who may or may not ever punch anyone in the face.
They said that about the one that they were going to do on Disney Plus.
Yeah, and then those guys who are running that show, I guess, shot some version of that, and somebody said, "You know what we need? A lot more punching."
I mean, it really did. It was almost like they were like, just take this back and put more blood all over it.
Yeah,
Like at one point, he's like, Frank, put the hatchet down. The guy's gonna like fucking use a hatchet on him. Disney Plus.
yes. I
I'm
look
there
forward to
for
seeing
it, man.
like the
It looks wonderful. His new suit looks good. What, 5 different cowls they showed?
yeah. I mean, and just to get fucking Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox sitting at a table, having what feels a bit like a heat conversation about these two guys who have miles of history, who've both turned a corner, and who both realize that they're going to end up backing up that fucking truck and going back to the people they used to be. I'm fucking here for it, man. The casting was always great. Both of those actors are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm here for the supporting cast, even though I was never the biggest Foggy Nelson stan in the world. But like fucking seeing that guy back, like, you know what? All right, he grew a beard. Good for you, Foggy. Man up.
So was Kevin Feige the one that was like, take this back and make it raw?
Ultimately,
Make it
probably,
Gotta
at the
be,
end
right?
of the day, it's got to be like, guys, I know we thought this was a good idea, but like, I have a feeling we're going to want to watch Daredevil like crunch a fucking head or two.
I mean, admittedly, like the Netflix series was wonderful, but like season 1 alone, that fucking hallway fight, that defined that show. And it defined that show as a show that, like, no pun intended, pulls no punches. So I'm delighted to see that, the thing that they showed us looks, I mean, and it's not like I'm looking for violence, I need violence, but they've already given us a version of Daredevil that was like, fuck, man, that was intense. It'd be tough to walk it back. And if anything, they were like, oh, hold my beer, and seemed to go further.
Yeah. And then like She-Hulk, we saw Fun Devil, right? We just saw like fucking Matt Murdock, like, putting the fucking moves on another lawyer lady, maybe having a little bit of sex, walk of shaming his way down a Hollywood street. Like, oh, that's fun. But we gotta see this motherfucker hurt somebody. And it seems like Echo was the test case for could we do this level of brutality on Disney Plus, and will anybody revolt because of it?
Right. Did they have churn? Did somebody drop their subscription going, there's too much violence on this
Yeah,
channel?
various sets of PTAs like come out, and fucking picketing Disney. How dare you sully the mouse like this? Ultimately, it seemed nobody cared. Full steam ahead. Give us the blood train.
In chat, Mark said that Harley Quinn, the new season, premiered tonight as well.
Ooh, I always like that.
Speaking of cartoons, did you watch What If?
Not yet.
Yeah,
Not
me neither. I haven't dived in.
I've been in the, as we said, the looking back hole more than the looking forward hole. And so I haven't seen Creature Commandos yet. I haven't seen What If yet. I still haven't seen Skeleton Crew, despite our show art. I do. The one thing I did see was Squid Game season 2.
I watched that as well.
Yeah,
I had no idea that it was going to end the way it did. I was like, what? Wait, what? Kept looking for the next episode.
7? That's it?
Yeah, I was very confused, and then I figured it out.
I found the solution to my problem.
Creature Commandos. Have you watched any Creature Commandos?
Not yet. You?
I have not yet either. Although I did see the piece about the new Batman online, where there's a flash in one of the last episodes of a Batman. They don't interact with him; he's just up in the rafters and stuff. But the physicality of the Batman, like, this is the first in DCU appearance of their Batman, the Batman who will be the Batman in their what are they calling the Batman and Robin movie?
The Brave and the Bold.
The Brave and the Bold. And he's awfully big, Mark. Like, he looks like he could be Reacher big.
Ooh, the reach around.
there aren't many people that could fill a suit that they presented. Granted, it's a cartoon, but like I think I think something like, and believe me, I'm not alone. This ain't a hot take. The internet feels the same way. I think something was communicated in that shot.
Did
And
you
communicate,
see
like
that?
also you could see kind of what the suit looks like a little bit, but oh, if it's Reacher, bro,
Did you see the trailer for Reacher season 3?
it,
Yeah, it's fun.
it looks like more like I like Reacher season 2, but it looks like more of a return to Reacher season 1. As
Yeah,
much as he doesn't have a whole team, it's just him.
I mean, and they're also spinning off his sidekick Neely into her own show.
She's getting her own show.
She's getting her own show. Yeah.
Good character.
But yeah. So I guess that's part of the like refocusing on this guy, going undercover. I don't know how you send a fucking, mountain undercover, but that seems to be what the story is. Um, but I'm always here for it, man. Simple pleasures, a simple guy.
Somebody, let me see in chat said, fuck, Babyface Thompson said Disney, Who, Paramount Plus, and the Taylor Sheridan verse is where it's at. As someone who has enjoyed some Sheridan verse, if you will, I love Lioness, and I really enjoyed Tulsa Kings. I watched an episode of Landman, but I haven't gone much further yet, and I've not watched any Yellowstone. But yeah, that fucking Lioness is incredible. He's a great storyteller. So I'm there for cross them over the DC universe and the fucking Taylor Sheridan verse.
Yeah, one of these days I will watch Lioness, and when I do it, it will only be because you raved so much about it.
Lioness is so fucking wonderful. She is fantastic. I know she just didn't she Zoe Saldana just win like a Golden Globe for
Yeah, for that Emilia Perez
Amelia
movie.
Perez. She's Jersey girl.
Hmm?
I'm not laying claim like stolen valor, but she does come from. She's up on the wall at Smod Castle on our wall of fame of all the people that came from New Jersey, celebrities that came from New Jersey and stuff. Speaking of
Outstanding.
which, heading back to New Jersey this weekend tomorrow, because on Saturday and Sunday at Smod Castle we're doing 30th anniversary screenings of Mallrats, where like at the end of each scene I pause it and I'm like, all right, and I tell you a story about the making of it and shit. And we're doing a Wicked sing along. All three of them sold out, man. So thanks to the folks who bought tickets and shit. I look forward to going back and playing at Smog Castle for the first time this year. If you're missing that event, kids, don't worry. There's always something coming up at Smog Castle. I know we're going to be doing in February a 15th anniversary screening of, wait for it, the Kevin Smith favorite, Cop-Out, ladies and gentlemen. So when those tickets go up on sale, make sure you get your hands on those. But yeah, anyway, enough about she's anyway. The whole reason I brought that up, she's on the wall at Smart Cousin. So.
He's on the wall. Smart. I need to make my way back east, man. It's been.
We figure out a day that you want to come back, and we'll do Fat Man, and we'll do something at the Jay and Silent Bob Secret Stash as well. Do the usual Jersey turn.
The usual. We'll screen a movie. We'll do a podcast. We'll sign some books.
Speaking of Landman, did you happen to see? I mean, you don't have to watch the show to have seen it because it was all over social media. The coach, or not the coach, I'm sorry, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, a gentleman named Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
He did a scene in Landman, bro, that was like a fucking fantastic piece of performance. Like for a guy, I don't know who he is. I'm not a football person, but like I know this dude's not known for being an actor. My God, he could probably win an Emmy for his brief appearance and this monologue he did about being in business with his family. It was really fucking touching. Speaking of Taylor Sheridan.
Yeah.
Yeah, what about Ides of Mark? Somebody in chat, Carlo said Ides of Mark. There you go.
Well, I mean, we tried once last year. You had to go back and shoot some more 80s show.
Yeah.
Or 90 show. 90 show. I knew it wasn't 70 show.
That was a problem. That's why it didn't go on for another season, because people were like 80 show, 90
show. When are we? 1983 show.
But yes, we can do a proper Ides of Mark.
We'll do it, man. Put the calendar.
Bob Perlin, I actually watched the Kev interactive version of Cop Out recently. when that was all done, we did this thing. It was MCM Maximum Movie Mode or MMM Maximum Movie Mode. It was like Warner Brothers a version of a special edition or something, where I did a running commentary track, but they shot me standing there, so they would periodically put me into the movie and then pull me.
That's cool.
We won't be showing that one. We're just going to flat out show the movie from 15 years ago, man. The classic that everybody loves. Cop Out. The one when I'm dead on the Oscars, that's the clip they'll show. No, I've often said the clip that I want them to show for my in memoriam is the shot from Clerks 2 when Zach Knutson playing the sexy stud. We pan up the back of the donkey and he's putting his hand down his pants and stuff. And we pan up to him and he goes, he spits in his hand and the spit goes off his hand. That's what I want them to play.
I'll take a note.
In memoriam. But I won't be here, Mark, so please tell somebody.
I will. They're like, listen, can we do the bit from Die Hard with a Vengeance? Like, no. Can we do, the when he gives himself lines in Clerks? Nuh-uh. Spit on the fucking hand.
Spit on the hand, please. That's the one. That communicates everything I want people to understand about my career and my work. Okay. Should we do the other ad and then?
Sure. We do the other ad, then we'll talk about Lobo.
Kids, we are lucky enough to have another sponsor tonight, and that's Chubbies. That's right, you heard me, Chubbies. Chubbies is here to take you, to help you take on 2025 in style, kids, starting with the comfiest, most versatile gear you've ever worn. For a limited time, our friends at Chubbies are giving our listeners 20% off with the promo code FATMANB. Is that right? FATMANB. Oh, yeah, for Beyond. Duh. At checkout at chubbiesshorts.com. That's CHUBBIESSHORTS.com. That's 20% off your order with the promo code FATMANB, man. Support our show and tell them we sent you. No matter where the new year takes you, Chubbies has the gear to keep you comfortable and looking your best. What can we say about Chubbies, Mark?
Yo, listen, if you got another like shitty novelty mug this Christmas, if you got another fucking, set of socks or ties or whatever nonsense, instead of the Chubbies you really wanted, yeah, we all been there, man. But it's not too late to treat yourself to what you truly deserve this year. And Chubbies has everything you need to turn your wardrobe and your life around. They got these everywhere pants designed for every occasion, whether it's heading to the office or kicking back for a fucking lazy Sunday. Note that these everywhere pants are called Every WEAR, just so you, the listener, gets how clever this is and how clever we fucking are, man. They're really good. And if your New Year's resolution is to hit the gym, Chubbies Ultimate Training Shorts are what you want to work out in, man. With split side seams and an extended liner, every detail is crafted for effortless movement, whether you're squatting on leg day or hobbling to your car after squatting on leg day. Either way, your goodies will stay safe and secure. And so for the limited time, use the code FATMANB at chubbiesshorts.com and get 20% off your order, man. Don't miss out.
Look at the fucking, number one, I'm impressed that we actually have a Chubbies commercial, visual.
I know.
A bunch of dudes in shorts and whatnot, but they had footage of, oh my God, these guys are skydiving. They had footage of fucking sharks, dudes wearing Chubbies around sharks. Tell you right now, Chubbies better be piss proof. You put me in a pool of fucking sharks. Terrifying. We thank the good folks at Chubbies, ladies and gentlemen, for sponsoring this here episode of Fat Man Beyond. Chubbies, kids, chubbiesshorts.com. CHUBBIESSHORTS.com. FATMANB is the code.
Add the third shorts for savings.
Look, that is absolutely right. Go get your chubby, kids. Okay. A lot of people in chat are like, come on, man, no fucking Superman talk. I guess they're talking about the trailer.
Yes. Did we not talk about the trailer?
Did we talk about it?
Felt like we did.
Last live show? Thought we did. But if we haven't, my God, what a great trailer.
Super cool.
Crypto.
Crypto.
Let me tell you something right now. Something happens to crypto, we all go John Wick,
We all march.
especially Superman. I mean, that's you want to turn him into a fucking bad Superman.
I mean,
Fucking
the thing that I appreciate,
try that dog. You
the
watch
thing
the
I
world.
appreciate most about that trailer is that James Gunn does not in any way steer away from feeling like, oh no, this is a comic book. Like this is from a comic book. We got a super dog, we got a Green Lantern guy, we got fucking, squiddy things in the fucking sky. Like it both feels emotionally mature and grounded and for real. And yeah, no, there's a dog that flies, you guys. And it all kind of works. And so I'm very, very, very curious um, to see it.
Brittany Nicole pointed out in chat the trailer premiered after the last show we did. So no, I guess we did not.
Did it. First time's a charm.
Some people giving me some Jerry Jones history in the chat. Well, I don't know much about that. I just know he did a really good scene in that show. Pretty good performance. Let's see. What else can one say? As Harsh Language Podcast points out, that kid holding the flag, calling for Superman is everything. Oh, so emotional, man. He says it almost reverently, like a prayer.
Please, Superman.
Superman. The whole trailer is just fucking wonderful, and the kind of near on guitar. Like, come on, fucking phenomenal.
The immortal John Williams score.
Perfectly forward. Is it perfectly forward? Perfectly flawed. In chat says only dog I want to see fly is underdog. I bought a lot of underdog stuff on eBay this week as well, including an underdog bank from the 70s.
Oh, Kevin's going to eBay like, I want to buy the 70s.
Kids, if you want to make an easy fucking under $50 off of me, I'm your mark this week on eBay.
You want to make a quick $8?
Yes. You want to haggle with Silent Bob and be shocked when I'm like, not for, I want $1 off, otherwise no deal.
It costs $1, sir.
Yes, trailer's fucking wonderful. Can't wait to see that movie. Yeah, I've loved movies James Gunn has made. I think James Gunn is a wonderful filmmaker, and for my money, that looks like a Superman movie. I can't wait to watch. Made me emotional, but to be fair, there ain't a Superman trailer hasn't made me emotional.
Also, I will say, not that we need to grade on a curve, but Superman might be the easiest superhero in the world to sell.
Yeah.
Because even for the Superman movies I don't like, had amazing fucking trailers.
Yeah.
Because, A, if you're using John Williams music, B, if you're using a fucking dude in a cape and you start waving flags at me, then, yeah, I'm on board. I get it. If you get it, I get it. It seems like James Gunn gets it.
And I feel like his Clark Kent looking gawky and fucking with the curly hair and he turns from his desk and he look. I bought that, man. I was like, oh shit, that would work. That would fool me.
I buy it.
Pair of glasses. Yeah, I can't wait. What is that? July?
Yeah, July 15th, I think.
Was it Nicholas Hoult? He looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Thor looks sinister and shit.
Always here for Nathan Fillion doing whatever the fucking Nathan Fillion wants to do. It's Guy Gardner.
Yeah, some cats on the internet got very picky about his Guy Gardner. I guess not knowing that's what the character looks like.
Yeah.
With that bowl cut, there were a lot of people that were they would put up pictures of the Green Lantern that Zack Snyder had shot for the extended cut of Justice League, I believe it was. And then they put up the Guy Gardner Green Lantern, and they were derp or whatever. But that's what Gardner looks like with the bowl cut, and he's kind of, he's got a ring, God knoweth how.
He looks like a big penis.
But even that was accurate. Seeing Metamorpho for a Flash,
Yeah.
just seeing a very populated DC universe, which I know some people are like, hey man, can't it just be Superman? I don't doubt that it's going to be primarily a Superman story, but I don't mind seeing a world backing it up. I'm glad we're not, starting from scratch where it's like there are no heroes yet. Like there's just heroes and we ain't seen them yet. Like I like that approach. So I'm in.
Indeed. Speaking of
Nerd
DC,
Large says in chat his haircut was trash. Yeah, like
supposed to
his
be.
haircut. Yeah, it was always trash. It was a bowl cut. Um, James B. Smith says he's Shemp adjacent. Yes.
Indeed.
Let's see. What else can we talk about?
Well, speaking of DC Comics, Jason Momoa seemed to have wished upon every star he could find.
This is beautiful.
Like Jason Momoa,
BAMF
fucking
Man,
Aquaman.
we still got Chubbies text up on the screen, BAMF Man.
Do they want us to be talking about that?
I think it's like Jason Momoa will give you Chubbies.
Screen accurate. He has wanted to play fucking, the intergalactic bastard Lobo for fucking years.
Yeah.
Talking about it, doing press for other DC movies. He'll talk about it to anybody who would listen. And he seems to have gotten exactly what he wanted. He will appear in Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow as Lobo, the alien bounty hunter who first appeared in the comics in 1983.
I'm happy for that, but hold on. In chat, Evan Fowler goes, there's going to be so much world building in this thing. Grodd working at Foot Locker in the background and shit. Momoa as Lobo is like fantastic casting. I mean, I know that Aquaman movie made $1 billion, so clearly that was good casting as well, but he was almost born to play Lobo.
He's basically playing Lobo as Aquaman.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I get it. Just, can we paint this outfit like black and blue and take away this gold and green? Yeah, it's easy.
Donnybrook in chat said Superman saving the girl is perfection. 100%. That shot in the trailer where he zips in and fucking protects her head while the fucking thing explodes at his back. That's Superman.
Gimme. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow arrives in the theaters June 26, 2026. And wow. I think I remember seeing a news report that they
just start shooting.
Yeah, I think it might be up and running already. And
that was historic, but at the same time, it's like there's been a Supergirl movie and a Supergirl TV series, and Supergirl was just in Flash. So
yeah, there's been Supergirl was early to the fucking post, man.
Yeah.
Before
nobody in this marketplace is gonna be like, there's a Supergirl? Like,
hold on.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think they've pushed back the release date for the Batman 2 a full year into 2027.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will they give us more Penguin?
Maybe.
They're gonna make us wait for more Batman. Can't we have more Penguin? The fucking Penguin was tasty.
Give me some more fucking Sophia.
Did you see his Golden Globe win, Colin Farrell?
Thank the craft services.
Well, first he was like, I have nobody to thank but myself for this, I think. But then he thanked the craft service lady. I thought that was classic.
Yeah, it is the kind of speech that only a Brit, or an Irish person could give, which is, self-deprecating, but still somehow also egotistical and charming as fuck.
Yeah. Oh my God. He is that. He was damn charming.
Indeed. Yeah, there was one person who in the chat, I can't remember who it was talking about that Marvel was going to be recasting T'Challa for Black Panther 3. Not quite. If one remembers the end of Black Panther 2, it turns out that Nakia gives birth to T'Challa's son, who's also named T'Challa. And if this movie takes place even 10 years later, then you have another person named T'Challa played by a different actor. That is not actually recasting. It is just a different character. Still called T'Challa, who will still wear a suit.
I'm all for that. Can you tell us? Are we? Have you?
Eyes of Wakanda.
Yeah. Do they? Are you like? Are you public?
I mean, the show is public. They announced that it was coming out this August. They've announced that it is a anthology series investigating Wakanda through history. That is as much as they've released, which means that I can release no more than that.
Yeah, fair enough. That's why I was.
Look, can you?
That's why it was so smoothly.
It's my favorite interrogation ever. Can you?
the Dark Knight detective at work, kids. Did they? Were the? How should I say this?
How's that novel going? You read?
Did you poison the reservoir and put smiles on the fishes?
A lot of pages in that novel. Is it a page turner? Do you think it's going to be a barn burner of a book, maybe?
I look forward to that series as well. Although, as somebody would probably point out very quickly in chat, well, you didn't watch What If yet. I will. I'm getting there. I was busy watching the detective show, hour long, High Potential.
Oh, on the ABCs
with Caitlin Olsen. Is that her name?
Yes. How is
wonderful fucking show? That and Matlock, two great fucking detective shows, man. They're out there killing it and shit. I pay a lot more attention to this stuff now because, as was mentioned in an article that came out, I guess, last month, we've been developing a NBC sitcom called Local Heroes. So I'm paying attention to every detective and mystery show.
I was about to say, just when I thought I had you figured out, you're like, I'm watching a lot of ABC procedurals.
Just be aware of that, and I'm watching a lot of Scooby-Doo because we don't have a lot of time to tell our mystery stories. And if anybody really there's two parties historically that have gotten quick mysteries down to a science: Scooby-Doo and Encyclopedia Brown. So those are our lodestars as we try to figure out how to be funny and cram an entire mystery into 20 minutes.
Only Murders in the Building is also a good comp for you.
That, of course, believe me, we probably wouldn't even be having this discussion were it not for Only Murders. But they tell a very long story.
They do, but they're only half-hour episodes.
Totally. Ours is a mystery per episode.
Oh, you're done ones. You're a procedural for reals.
Very much so. A procedural sitcom. So it's like set up and payoff all within the 20 while making people laugh. Almost as if Parks and Rec was a mystery, but not the found footage or the documentary style. So maybe Parks and Rec is not the right one. Almost as if news radio was a mystery as well.
It's murder she tweeted.
Like, where were you when we were pitching? Fuck. All right. But wait, what were we talking about prior to that? For our humble brag.
Yeah. No, we're talking about T'Challa, Eyes of Wakanda this August.
James B. Smith in chat said Poker Face. That is a really good comp. Thank you.
Indeed.
Carlos said watch
BAMF.
Somebody
in chat threw out the Diamond Comics bankruptcy. Do you guys have anything insight on that?
Although I do want to point out, and once again, this is a humble brag, is that in chat the hero wrote, "News radio is a pull." Thank you for noticing. I did feel like that was a very deep cuts pull, and I like to be seen, kids. That's all I'm looking for in life, is to be seen. So yes, let's talk about what's going on with Diamond. Kids, for those who don't follow the world of comics as much as you follow comics adjacent pop culture, Diamond Distributors, or Diamond Distribution, the network, is how comic book stores like Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, in business for its like year. What we started in 96, 29th year. Oh my God, we're coming up on our 30th. We get our books from a distributor. They don't come from DC Comics and Marvel. They come from a Diamond, and now they don't come from Diamond. They come from Penguin and Lunar. But Diamond was a company that, there used to be a bunch of different comics and toys distributors, and then at one point the market went all the way down to one, and it was Diamond, and they were investigated as like, do they have a monopoly? Because imagine an industry where there was only one supplier of anything that you buy. There was no sense of competition because all the other distribution outlets had closed, because people started signing exclusive deals at a certain point. And when Marvel and DC went exclusive with Diamond, that hurt a bunch of other distribution outlets, which eventually closed down and stuff. And now Diamond is facing its own mortality. They've had a rough couple of years since the pandemic. At one point, they stopped distributing materials, and that that not only outraged the audience, but it outraged the big two as well. And so the big two went looking for other homes. That's when Marvel, I think, signed with Penguin. Yes, DC's with Dark Horse signed exclusively with Penguin. Penguin, as in like Penguin books, random books. Like, they were not in the comic book business. Now they are. So Diamond had been holding in there because there's still a bunch of small press companies. That's where else you're going to sell. Diamond was a home for a lot of small press books. Now Diamond has announced, what was it, yesterday? They're filing for bankruptcy protection. Does not mean they're out of business. It means they're filing for bankruptcy protection, which is usually the first step a company takes. They try to reorganize and try to save itself. Right. But there's big fear in the comic book industry. Professionals who make the books and retailers who sell the books, that as goes Diamond, so goes the entire industry. This isn't, an example of like, well, competition, weeds out and only the strong survive. Like, Diamond was so big that if they go away, it's like a collapsing star of some sort. Am I overstating it?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think they, as you said, they don't quite have the stranglehold on the business they used to have. There are alternatives for people to both distribute their comics, especially the big two, but they were historically the glue that kind of held it together. And I think that they were doing, when the pandemic hit, they were forgiving a lot of smaller stores to help them stay afloat, which also helped add to their kind of financial woes. I think as of the 14th of January, JP Morgan and Chase came in with like $40 million worth of kind of bridge financing to help the company stay afloat while they went through their reorganization process. Chapter 11, which is what Diamond filed for, is less severe than Chapter 7, which is like fire sale, we're shutting it down. It just gives them time. They don't have to pay off their immediate debts. They can get their house in order and potentially, come out of Chapter 11 as a company that's leaner and smarter, that can still provide its service to its customers. But it ain't good, but it's also maybe not the worst.
In chat, Doubt Barisha said, Kev, do you remember Capital City in the 90s? They were the alternative till Diamond beat them and pushed them out of business. Absolutely, I remember Capital City. For most comic book, I didn't own a comic book store back then, but I was buying comics, and so we would talk to the people behind the counter. We knew like Ray at Ray's Collectibles real well and stuff. So, they would show you the catalogs that they ordered from. In fact, if you were like, a regular, they would give you could buy the Diamond Previews Guide, thick ass wish book every fucking month, like a Sears wish book of everything that was coming out the following month. And then the other companies, you know, would also have their catalog. So you could go through, and if you were tight with the retailer, order off of all the different catalogs, because there were multiple distributors. Like they would get their DC from here, they would get their Marvel from here, and all that competition, you know, created rates that comic book stores could handle. Diamond became a monopoly of sorts when all of them went away. And, you know, for years, people pointed that out. Like, this is the only, they are a monopoly. The government investigated them and they were like, they're not a monopoly. This happened naturally. They didn't drive their competition out of business. But as people have been pointing out in the chat, like, you know, Blair Houghton wrote, lots of comic shops died while Diamond ruled. It's true. Like, and somebody else pointed out, well, the Blam panel says, I work at a comic shop and Diamond is such a small portion of our business now. If we got distillery, I don't understand the part. Maybe that's book or distribution. And then somebody pointed out, Diamond, Lastborn says, Diamond holds enough IP to walk out the other side. So he doesn't think they're going to go down as well. Ear Mixon in chat says, let's not overstate it. If they lost all the publishers because they failed to compete because they were too used to being a monopoly and not willing to change enough to keep the big publishers. I mean, all of these factors are true.
You know, and I think that also the driving force of the comics business for a very long time was manga, and manga didn't need Diamond to be distributed. Like that stuff was coming.
Also, I watched a piece on YouTube fairly recently about, or did I read it, or was it both? About the number one publisher, you know, in comics right now. Superhero comics are falling off incredibly, and the smallest piece of the pie, and they're not really selling. And there's a lot of churn on new titles, and then they cancel and stuff. Graphic novels, collections of old stories, which used to be bedrock, are not moving. So not just new pamphlet comics, but like the trades that were so trustworthy, sales have gone down considerably. But they were like, and yet the marketplace is still healthy. Why is that? And they looked at the number one publisher of trades and graphic novels. Do you know who that is?
Is it Viz?
Scholastic. Scholastic years ago, you know, like, we sell to kids. Like, that's our audience. Why aren't we in the comic book business? And so they went looking for something that would be appropriate. And they found Jeff Smith's Bone, which Jeff Smith had been publishing independently forever. Black and white book, epic story with very adorable, cartoony, you know, almost Walt Kelly Pogo-ish looking characters. But, you know, with dragons, quest story. And it was massive, almost as massive as like Cerebus, or equally as massive as Cerebus, Dave Sims' book. And so Scholastic was like, this is wonderful. Let's republish this in color. And they did. And that book has sold 50, 60 million, I believe, through Scholastic alone still. And so Scholastic, of course, brought us Dogman, which they're opening as a movie. Universal is doing, like, Captain Underpants. I think that was them as well. So they have taken a massive share of the marketplace, and the readers are traditionally younger, like, which is something that the comic book marketplace needs to survive. Like, so I've watched that piece with a great deal of interest, and I was excited for Jeff Smith, who, like, I remember from, like, you know, when Clerks was happening, Bone was happening, you know, and I was a big comic book fan and still remain and own a store and shit. So I've always, like, kind of watched his story from afar, but I hadn't paid attention in like a decade. And when I watched that, I was like, fucking A, good for him. B, great for Scholastic to identify like a marketplace and be like, we're going in there. So superhero graphic novels and trades have dropped in sales. And this is on a whole, I'm not speaking for the Secret Stash. You'd have to ask Zapsik. But the Scholastic trades are a huge part of it. And I think you're right. Viz would probably be like number two.
Yeah. I mean, and that has always been long been the issue with superhero books was that like kids read comics. 100% they do. Scholastic, Viz, the towers of manga, all of that shit. Young girls read comics, which historically Marvel and DC sort of abandoned. 100% they do, but they're just not reading superhero stuff. And so, unless superheroes could figure out a way to re-engage with kids, then they would begin to die out along with the people who read superhero books. And the year after year after year sort of winnowing down the atrophy of that comic book audience. Like, of course, there's always going to be these spikes. There's going to be an absolute Batman that becomes a monster, but the trend generally is going down. And so you have to have another generation to come in. Otherwise, you've sentenced yourself to obsoleteness.
Well put. Get Swifty in chat says some small shops have been hurting because of Diamond being late with their shipments. This is true. The Secret Stash, which has been in business for nearly 30 years. Comics, of course, are our business, but we don't rely solely on comics to pay the rent. It's also a souvenir store if you've ever liked any of the bullshit we've made. So Diamond being late on stuff, while it does affect our business, has never shuttered us. But I have read many cases and heard from other retailers who had to give up because of the trouble they had getting shipments, particularly during COVID. But I guess they've been late now in the post-COVID era as well. It's not good, Nobody. I don't care how you feel about Diamond. It's not good to see such a massive stalwart foundation of the current comic book industry, right or wrong, whether they were a monopoly or not. Capital City is gone, and other distributors, Good Grief and whatnot, went away. But for what we've had for the better part of the last, what feels like, I don't know, 15, 20 years, to suddenly be in trouble is just, it's not good for the marketplace, not just for the art form in and of itself. I mean, look, the art form's never going to go away. It's going to be hard, though, the loss of Diamond on a lot of small press publishers, but somebody will step in and create it. I fill the void. I mean, I can't imagine, and I'm not speaking for him at all because I don't know anybody there, but I can't imagine Penguin is going to be taking on small press anytime soon. Lunar, I guess, covers a bunch, but from what I hear from other retailers, or at least not what I hear, but what I read online, I got no beef with Lunar, but some people are like, that's my competition because they're run out of the store in New York. Distribution is owned by Midtown Comics, I think. So some people, other retailers, but I'm buying books from another retailer as opposed to, a distributor, what Diamond was. But it's look, I own a movie theater in an age when film exhibition is going in the toilet. The audience is going this way for this thing. And if you love it, then it's just you have to adjust accordingly as shrinkage continues, I guess.
Nimble survive.
What else we got?
I think that's about it news-wise. It was a relatively slow holiday season because all of the reasons.
Lunar, was I saying Luna? I think some at Last Born was correct to be checked.
Lunar. We personally, we were supposed to be shooting Deepest Darkest by now.
For those who aren't following that closely or have been out for a little while, for those who came in late, Mark ran a very successful Kickstarter, Indiegogo? Kickstarter for Deepest Darkest, a film that he's making, an anthology film with our Tiffany Smith and a cast of others like Rosario and stuff.
Yeah. But and we were supposed to be shooting. No, it's today, the 16th. We were supposed to be shooting today and tomorrow, and then a couple days next week. All of that got pushed because of the wildfires. Um, Now it's looking like February, like towards end of February into beginning of March. Um, some of that becomes, I mean, first it was safety and health, and like one of these segments took place in an outdoor park, and like when there's that much ash in the air, it felt irresponsible to put people in harm's way to shoot a movie. Um, so we pushed it. Thankfully, most of our crew was able to accommodate that. The cast has been able to accommodate it, and so um, it will happen. It will happen in the best way possible, just not as soon as I thought it would be. Um, but we improvise, we overcome.
Kids, if you try real hard, you can get everything you want in life. You just may not get it on the schedule you're hoping for. It sounds like this is one of those occasions where the schedule has been altered. But doesn't mean it's dead, just means the schedule has been altered.
Indeed.
Seth Doe Jersey in chat said, greatest living filmmaker dies and it hasn't come up yet. Kind of sad. Well, kind of sad that you didn't pay attention. We talked about it twice already on the show. We just haven't gone deep yet. But we did mention it way at the beginning of the show. And we have mentioned it since then. So wrong. No.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Adonis Majet in chat says, can you talk about Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra? Is that a project?
That is the Captain America Black Panther video game that I worked on during the pandemic, during the lockdown.
Is it out? Or
not yet? They dropped a trailer. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 months ago. There's been a little bit of press around it. They have now gone sort of signal silent because, as I understand it, the game is not coming out for a pretty decent stretch. So I think that is just the game cycle. We tease you, we show you a little bit of story, we give you a little bit of information, and then we're running silent, running deep until we're ready to say more. But it was a ton of fun to work on. It's as the title says, it's a 1943 game. It's a World War II. Very young Steve Rogers, just having gotten the shield and the armor. T'Challa's grandfather, Azuri, is the Black Panther at the time. And it's a spy show. I mean, it's a punching Nazis in the face, hunting for occult secrets. Did I mention Nazis? And also Hydra, and Howling Commandos, and Wakanda, and kind of all of it. And the creative director is a woman named Amy Henning, who did all the Uncharted games, who knows pretty much everything there is to know about action, adventure, and video games. And it was an amazing project to work on. The more I see of it, I've long since been off of the game, but they do sort of gently keep me in the loop. And yeah, the more I see, the more amazing it looks like it's going to be.
I'm not involved in any cool ass video games, but right before the holiday, I did catch a pretty cool job doing a voiceover for a game.
Mm.
But it was old school, Mark. It was a game that we used to play before Pong.
Tell me.
A game as pinball.
The pinball.
The pinball. I did a voiceover for a Dungeons and Dragons pinball game for Stern Pinball.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was pretty dope, man. Like I got to act, which is rare. But I'm a voice. Michael Dorn's a voice. Gerard Way is a voice. Gary Gygax's kid is a voice. Like they got a big voice cast and stuff. And it's crazy because then there were people that came out of the woodwork. I guess some article ran that talked about me being in it. But I heard from not strange people, but I heard from people who strangely I hadn't known were big pinball enthusiasts. Like the guy that owns JoeBlow.com, Burge, he hit me up. I used to talk to him all the time. He hit me up for the first time in years. He was like, congratulations on the pinball. And he took me down his rabbit hole where he's like, during COVID, I got really into pinball. And he's like, he's like, I love it as much as I used to love movies. And so he's like, welcome to this world. You're going to find yourself falling down the pinball hole. The game looks fantastic. I was, kind of like, flattered because before there were video games, before there was a Pong, before there was a Pitfall, ever since I was a young man, I played the silver ball, Mark, from Soho down to Brighton. I must have played them all, but I ain't seen nothing like him in any amusement hall. That kid from New Jersey sure plays a mean pinball.
I like that crazy flipper fingers can also refer to the penguin.
It's true. So true.
Awesome.
Somebody, fat tiddies in chat, 2Ds, says, I heard Kevin's voice in a Lego Avengers show that I watched with my nephew last week. That's right. I was, if you're on Disney Plus, I was the voice of Terrax in Lego Avengers.
You've been busy, man.
I, you know, honestly, like I'm a terrible actor, but if they're like looking for me to be me, I can pull that off. I know how to play Kevin Smith at this point. Okay.
Right, should we get into it?
Our Lord Seven says, I want a Jay and Silent Bob video game. That's fucking, there's one, and it's fantastic. It's called Jay and Silent Bob Chronic Blunt Punch. And it's taken a few years to build, but my God, I played the first 3 screens, and the graphics are great. We had we did a scrolling game, limited runs, folks did a scrolling game, Mall Brawl, which was like a traditional scroller of Jay and Bob fighting through like a bunch of mall settings reminiscent of the flicks we've made. But Chronic Blunt Punch is like so insanely well animated, and the fucking like when they power up to Blunt Man and Crown is dope. So one day that fucking video game is coming out. But now I need a Jay and Silent Bob pinball machine.
I mean, you know, guys.
Talk to my peeps. All right.
Should we do the thing?
Yeah, let's do that thing, man. Kids, I'm not going to say like, you know, you can't tell very much by my work. Except maybe some of it. But I was always a massive David Lynch fan. David Lynch, one of those cats, well, one of the greatest American filmmakers ever lived, most daring. He had a run that was beyond belief, but Clerks, the original version of Clerks that I was starting to write, was more Lynchian than the movie you saw. It originally took place over the midnight shift at the convenience store, something that didn't really exist in Quick Stop. I wound up going with a more semi-autobiographical version of the story. But the original take was me going to be doing, you know, fucking Wild at Heart in a convenience store. So all night long, fucked up people came in, like, and all the scenes played in a very Lynchian way. That's because I was a massive Twin Peaks fan. I was a massive Eraserhead fan. I was a massive Blue Velvet fan. I was a massive Wild at Heart fan. I was a massive Elephant Man fan. I was a massive Dune fan, as you've heard me and Mark talk about for years. David Lynch was like a filmmaker who I'd never be as good at, but his commitment to his brand of whimsy, so much so that he passed on directing Return of the Jedi because he was like, it would never really be mine. His commitment to his own brand was inspiring to a guy who spent his whole career in the wake of that man's career making quote unquote Kevin Smith movies. Part of the reason I do that is because David Lynch made David Lynch movies. Nobody else could make those movies. Nobody else would make those movies. You want to talk about a singular artist with a vision? Fuck, uncompromising. Go watch Eraserhead. You know, one of the greatest independent films, cult films of all time. But you don't watch that movie and go like, the next time this guy does black and white, it's probably going to be an Academy Award worthy film. And he did with fucking The Elephant Man, an amazing, heartbreaking film. As gritty and graphic as it is gracious and beautiful in places. David Lynch, I hesitate to include myself in the fraternity and sorority of directors because I'm just, I make Kevin Smith movies. But if I may allow myself to be part of that group, because for years people have said professionally I'm a director, and allow me to use the word us, even though I'll never be in the same class, he was the best of us when it came to telling a story that was so uniquely his that only that artist could produce, even something simple like the straight story.
Mm-hmm.
He was an absolute titan. Man lived right around the block. I walked my dogs past his houses all the time. He had two houses right next to each other. You could see him in, what was it, Inland Empire, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
But he lives here in the neighborhood, man. I only saw what I think was him once. I had that porch. He'd go out and do the weather. I think I saw him once closing the door, and I was like, yeah, we lost a great one today. And a person who, I've said this many times before I went out on my artistic journey that I've been on for like 30 years with, varying results. I ate a pop cultural diet that has sustained me for 30 years. David Lynch and his films were a big part of the diet. Got me to where I tried expressing myself and stayed an influence. There's a Lynchian influence in Red State and Tusk for absolute sure. He was a true goddamn American original. Isn't that what anybody wants if you're an American artist? Mm-hmm. So pour one out for the late great David Lynch, who even recently got his triumph with Twin Peaks on Showtime. Got to go back and do it his way to the point where it didn't resemble what. Even then he was uncompromising. I going in, I was like, well, I know what a Twin Peaks sequel would look like, and I didn't, because he was like, let me re-educate you, because he would never give you what you expected, ever. And fuck, man, great actor too, fun actor, like in all, played his character in Twin Peaks. He was always up here. Ralph Garman does a great impression of him. But also just recently in the Spielberg movie,
the Fable,
where he plays John Ford at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic fucking scene. I've said this about the Coen brothers many times, and this goes true for David Lynch too. David Lynch got into the business. David Lynch did weird, and I'm sure people in the business were like, he'll calm down and one day he'll move over here. But over time, the industry and the business slowly, he didn't move. We just all gravitated toward him. Twin Peaks is a groundbreaking television show. You don't get to The Sopranos without Twin Peaks. You don't get to all the streaming masterpieces people watch today without Twin Peaks. The guy impacted the culture so fucking deeply, and he did it to the beat of his own drum. Nothing but respect.
Yeah. I mean, it's the thing you hope for as an artist is to be remembered for the art that you made and to be able to make art that nobody else could make but you. I came to him. I think Elephant Man was the first thing that I ever saw, first David Lynch movie that I ever saw. The first one I ever loved was Dune. And Dune will always sort of live in my heart as this sort of uncompromisingly weird alien movie, but every movie that he made challenges the viewer. And I think that was part of why I responded to him. Like, it was not easy watching David Lynch movies, but always rewarded you for the effort of meeting him where he was. Wild at Heart, I think, was the second one. It was one of those, like, I like that Dune movie. What else does this guy do? And then you'd go down the sort of the rabbit hole of David Lynch and discover that each one of these movies is completely different, in a similar way, and that they're all shot through with his particular skewed, sort of view on Americana, on the quietness of suburbia, on the weirdness of the people in the margins. And yeah, it's incredibly influential. He was never quite beloved in America as much as he was beloved overseas. You know, I mean, he was
Won a
nominated.
Palme d'Or at
He won a
Cannes
Palme d'Or for Wild at Heart.
Wild at Heart.
Yeah, but he was nominated for some Oscars. Um, he was nominated for, let me see, director for Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive, and Elephant Man, and a screenplay nomination for Elephant Man. And he got an honorary Academy Award in 2019. But, again, international loved him. And I think that there's something about, the way Europe views artists compared to the way America views artists is definitely a different thing. But I mean, he was a guy who, to your point, made the movies he wanted to make. The industry was a thing he could give a shit about as long as he could get the art that he wanted to make funded. And it never seemed like he had too much of an issue getting that done. His last movie was Inland Empire in 2006. He suffered from,
Is that right?
yeah.
And then, what did he do between that and Twin Peaks?
Not very much of anything.
I mean, for a while he was doing The Weather.
So in The Weather, he did in 2017 he did a short film called What Did Jack Do, in which he interrogates a monkey.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah, but it's yeah. I mean, Blue Velvet was 86. Mulholland Drive is 2001. He did kind of. I mean, he was diagnosed with emphysema, not too long ago, and I think ultimately that's contributed to. In August he revealed he was suffering from emphysema after many years of smoking, and then he couldn't leave his home for fear that he would get COVID. And passed away at 78 years old. His family sort of revealed that today on Facebook.
78.
78. But yeah, a legend is on time.
Artist, maestro.
Yeah, I mean, he defined an era.
Babyface Thompson said he recently had a baby, from what I recall.
Oh, wow.
Booyah says he started smoking at 8 years old, according to Wikipedia.
Damn. I think I'm on the record saying
bringing up the families. We talked about that earlier. I love that scene. He's fantastic in that scene.
Yeah, like I don't love that movie, but I thought that scene was great.
Oh, I mean, it's that that scene. If you have to end a movie, end it with that scene. Because no matter what happens before it, that scene was fucking Charm City. And he, almost functions like a short film. Star-Lord 7 said, "Life is fast, man." You're not kidding. You are not kidding.
It's time for a David Lynch Film Festival, I think.
Yeah. God, The Elephant Man is a sad movie. Really heartbreaking.
So yeah,
that's all our news.
That's the end of the news, my friend.
James B. Smith said he once distracted an ABC exec on Twin Peaks by making him an extra in the last scene of the day.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, singular artist, man. Singular. Okay. I think that's all the news, kids. If there's any other news you think we missed, drop it in the chat. Meantime, BAMF Man. Oh my God.
BAMF.
Nerd Large just wrote in chat, "I am not an animal." Like that's from David Lynch.
Yeah.
I am not an animal. I'm a human being. Something that like nobody really says anymore, but like for most of our childhood, that was a go-to.
Not quite in the ballpark, pun intended, of this show, but Bob Uecker passed away. The Brewers
Belvedere.
announcer, but he was in Mr. Belvedere.
Yeah.
And Bull Durham. Just a bit outside.
Major League.
Major League. Oh,
I was gonna say I don't remember him in Bull Durham. Major League though, yeah. There were a couple major leagues, weren't there?
yeah. That is, he was in all of them.
Ocean Explorer Spirit says, "Did you guys talk about Skeleton Crew?" We did not. We talked about like the first episode when it aired, I think.
Yeah,
Batman had seen it, but I have not caught up with the rest of it yet. Rest assured, we will. People seem to really dig it.
I saw the end. It
Bam,
does.
man, take it.
I mean, everything that we said when we talked about like episode 1 a month ago, it carries through to the end. It's joyful
satisfying
to the end. Yeah, it is the and I am not a prequel hater, but Skeleton Crew I feel like was the Star Wars show that I wished for when I was like 10 years old playing with Kenner toys. It really took me back to a joyful time of Star Wars.
Nice.
Which I feel like we haven't had since like Ewoks beat up the Empire.
It's true. It's been a minute. Deep cut hole right there. Yes, rest in peace, Uke. And check out Skeleton Crew on Disney Plus. Got a high fucking praise right there from BAMF Man. If BAMF Man don't know Star Wars, who fucking does?
It's great. Great. Highly recommend Skeleton Crew.
You know what I highly recommend, kids? In February, me and Jason Mewes are coming to your hometown. Your hometown.
Sounds like a threat.
Yeah, there it is. The Oral Sex Tour, kids. Me and Jay coming to a town near you. I wish I knew all the names of where we're going. They written there, JC?
Yeah, I will get it. It didn't come through.
February
for some
2nd,
reason.
Boston, Massachusetts. February 4th, Hartford, Connecticut. February 5th, Ridgefield, Connecticut. February 7th, Ithaca, New York. Feb 8th, Wilmington, Delaware. February 10th, Washington, D.C. February 11th, Charlottesville, Virginia. February 12th, McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania. Feb 13, Indianapolis, Indiana. And Valentine's Day, St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, kids, we're out on the road. If you want to see a couple of fucking has-beens, let's be honest, never was. Come fucking hang out with me and Jay, man. We'll take you back to. You want to talk about comfort? You know what we're like? Buying Bullwinkle toys on eBay after a traumatic event. That's what going to see Jay and Silent Bob live is like. The Oral Sex Tour, AURALSECTS. Punny, see? Tickets at ceasemod.com, kids. All right, BAMF Man.
All right, not a lot of questions from the chat tonight, but I got a handful here for us.
Okay.
First one from Mean Dave. What comic character would you want to see Lynch make a movie of if he was still alive?
Ooh, the question. That's my go-to answer for almost every comic book thing. Imagine the question in the hands of David Lynch. Like that fucking faceless face. That's the guy who should have been doing that. So yeah, I say the question. Him doing Vic Sage. I'd even, you know what? I'll take both. Vic Sage and
Renee Montoya?
Renee Montoya. Yeah, take them both. Not at the same time, but like let Lynch do both. Did he ever do a sequel?
No.
Could have been a first. The question, I say, that'd be pretty cool.
Metamorpho.
Ooh. From the man who brought you the Elephant Man, the Elemental Man.
The Elemental Man.
We would have sat next to each other in the fucking DVD library.
That'd That'd be fun. But yeah, just fucking a little bit of body horror, a little bit of existentialism, a little bit of, I'd like to see him do a superhero thing. I think that'd be super fun. Um, yeah, no, Metamorpho. It feels like a good call.
Walrus Onion in chat had an excellent suggestion. Shade the Changing Man.
Ooh, that is good.
All right, BAMF Man, what else we got?
Let's see. Neil Malik asked, "What Batman comic storyline would you like to see adapted to the big screen?"
Well, it's a Batman story, but technically it's not in a Batman book. Swamp Thing, Alan Moore issues where he goes to Gotham and takes over Gotham and turns it into a modern day jungle because they have Abby Arcane imprisoned. And he's like, release Abby or you will feel nature's wrath. And, he slowly takes Gotham down by letting it overgrow. And it just kind of returns it to nature and shit. And, the end of the first issue, like you're pulling back and you're seeing the vegetation growing over in Gotham and the greening of Gotham, it's called. And they're like, and there are some people who really enjoy that. I'm not doing Alan Moore justice, so these are not their words, but it's just like some people are enjoying it, and then they pull back over fucking the top of a building where you see the shadow of Batman standing over it all, and some people do not. And then the next issue, Batman fights the Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing beats the shit out of him because he can grow multiple versions of his body. And Batman comes at him with fucking exfoliant and shit, like fucking like blow torches him as well, like just incinerates him. And he comes at him with this gigantic fuck off Batmobile that was it's still a very singular John Totalman version of the fucking Batmobile, where he meets up with Swamp Thing and he's just like, I understand you're a reasonable creature with human intelligence, release my city. And he's like, I release the woman. He's like, we can't. He's like, there are laws. And he's like, I'm not subject to your laws. And he's like, I tried. Batman comes out, fucking can of, like, I think it's a flamethrower on his back, and just torches him. And he goes up, flames, and that's when the Swamp Thing, splunk, 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 all those sound effects they used to draw. He grows multiple bodies, and they all beat the fuck out of Batman and shit. And so then Batman is in the office with Commissioner Gordon later on and the mayor, and they're like, we have to release the woman. And they're like, we can't. The mayor's like, there are laws, or a district attorney or whatever. Like, we can't let her go. This was a woman who was cohabitating with a vegetable, because that's why they're holding her in prison, because she was in a physical relationship with a non-human. And then Batman has this great speech where he's just like, all right, well, if we're going to start arresting people for having like relationships outside the norm, and he starts listing all of the DC characters, including Corey from Teen Titans. He's like, I believe her race is descended from cats. He's like, and then there's that other one, the one in Metropolis. And suddenly the mayor is like, release the woman. Such a great fucking episode, such a great pair of issues. But Batman confronts him and he's just like, we're releasing your wife, but if you ever do this to my city again, I will kill you. And he's like, I believe you will. Oh, such a great.
I want to watch it. Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And at the end, in the middle of it, and there's a beat that I stole from my Daredevil. When I did the Daredevil arc, there's a moment where in the seventh issue, where the villain turns out to be Mysterio, Quentin Beck Mysterio. And as he's telling the tale of, how he arrived at Daredevil as a nemesis and blah, 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 and why this was all happening, he tells a story about like meeting with a broken Wilson Fisk, who in the comics at that point had been dethroned as the Kingpin and shit like that. And he met with Quentin Beck for $1 million for 10 minutes to give him information, that about Matt Murdock, Daredevil, blah, blah, blah. That was stolen from Alan Moore in those 2 issues of Swamp Thing, because at one point Lex Luthor is paid $1 million for like a 5-minute conversation on how to destroy the Swamp Thing. And he breaks it down like and this is Luthor when he had the metal hand, remember, because he used to wear the kryptonite ring, and it eventually like irradiated his hand. They had to cut it off, so he had a metal hand for a while. And so he tells, this government organization, the psyops or whatever the fuck, how like you have to send a neural disruptor into the husk so that he can't jump from the body, and that's when you hit him with a missile and shit like that. It's just such a great fucking story, man. I wish Alan Moore had written more Batman. Of course he did famously in The Killing Joke and stuff, but his take on Batman was always so fucking good. And his Swamp Thing run still remains one of the greatest fucking comic book runs in comic book history. How about you?
Man, listen, I'm gonna fucking cede the floor. There's nothing that I can say that makes that exists in the shadow of the Swamp Thing run. Like, yes, seconded. That would be amazing.
I'll take that. All right, man. What do we got, JC? The third.
All right, last one. Neba 29. Would you prefer movies to go away from established IP and tell stories based on new stories by new artists with different ideas, or stay within the realm of kind of the current thing, which it needs to be a pre-established intellectual property?
Is this for comics?
I think movies.
Okay, say it again. I got lost.
Would you prefer movies go away from established IP and tell stories based more on new ideas with new artists?
Copy. Well, to be fair, IP has always been with us. When we were kids in the 80s, Star Wars became IP, Raiders of the Lost Ark became IP. Anything that they make a movie of and it does well, and they're like, let's make another one, it becomes IP. It's no longer just a movie or a one-off story. It's an ongoing franchise or sequels, or, multiples can be made featuring those characters. So that's been with us forever. It's not like that's a new thing. Like, oh man, the Marvel Cinematic Universe really fucking, like, now it's all about IP. For studios, in order to make big money, it's always been about IP. So same as it ever was when it comes to that. Problem is, I think more the question beyond the question is, in the last, let's say, 10 years at least, if not more so, comic book movies have been so dominant, and studios making 100, 200, $500 million comic book movies, probably at the expense of the mid-range budget movie, probably at the expense of the low-budget studio comedy. And that's a whole different discussion. Naturally, I wish there was room for everything. But right now, I think the feeling seems to be like, well, you can get like quality programming from a streamer. Why is anybody going to watch like the mid-budget adult grown-up movie? And I don't mean adult like porn. I mean like, it was a divorce drama, like Kramer versus Kramer. It wouldn't be a movie today. That would be a fucking streaming series, minimum 8 episodes. So I think drama and, highbrow fare or adult storytelling, and again, not porn, but just like, movies for grown-ups and shit, have kind of gravitated to TV or streamers for grown-ups on most of your major streaming places. And that has left big bombastic blockbuster movies as the domain of studios right now. Will that ever change? I mean, why would it? Like, things tend not to go backwards, right? Like, I remember once, a long time ago, Affleck referred to Netflix as a public utility. It's like, you think they're ever going to be able to turn that off? He's like, it's like water in households now. It's like, that's a public utility. Too big to fail. It's taken over, and like other streamers have taken the place of what we've known as traditional network television. So a lot of things are at work in terms of why they don't make as many movies or as many kinds of movies as they used to. But if you change the terminology from movies to just storytelling, all that good storytelling is out there. You just don't really have to leave the house for it anymore. what they make you pay to leave the house for is like, you want to watch fucking Deadpool fuck up Wolverine and vice versa? Give us your money. I wish it was more like when we were growing up, but if it really meant that much to me, I guess I'd go out of my way to build a vast fortune, create my own studio, and do it the way I'd want to. But as a guy, and I'm not even a guy who's personally affected by that because the studios gave up on my fucking fat ass a long time ago. So it's not like, man, my movies don't get made because of Marvel movies. Like, they were never making my shit. But just as a movie fan, yeah, you want more choices. But again, I don't feel like all that's gone away. It's just changed shape and gone other places. For example, when we were younger, Presumed Innocent was an Alan Pakula movie that Harrison Ford was in. Now it's an Apple TV series, with Jake Gyllenhaal, and they do it over the course of multiple episodes as opposed to one tight 2-hour version of the story. So those stories are still being made. They're just being made differently. They're telling them longer and they're doing them as streamers. I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to your point, yes, there has been IP since there have been movies. Wuthering Heights, based on the novel by Emily Bronte. That kind of thing has been happening since forever. Novels to
Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the fucking Wind. Like, hey, 10 Commandments, based on a book I hear. But I think that what has happened is that, yes, it's become harder to make an original thing. And you have to be a very specific kind of person to make an original thing if you want to. Like, not a ton of people today can go to a studio and say, I want to make Interstellar, or I want to make Inception.
Well, that filmmaker could go to any studio, say both of those, and they were like,
absolutely. Like, who gets to tell original stories is a very rarefied thing these days.
And technically, I mean, I don't want to get mocked for this, but technically a meritocracy of sorts, not in as much as quality outs, but whatever makes money, if you make money, they'll let you make whatever you want.
Yeah, like,
so once I don't know if that's considered a meritocracy, or what would be the word for that?
I mean, it doesn't sound far off, but like, Quentin Tarantino is not making adaptations of very much. Jackie Brown is an adaptation, but because it's Quentin Tarantino, he can actually just sell. People will come and see a Quentin Tarantino movie. People will come and see a Christopher Nolan. People will come and see a James Gunn movie if he wanted to just go back and make, weird ass fucking films again. He could do that if he wanted to. There are not that many brands anymore. And so the idea, I mean, honestly, Kevin Smith movie doesn't have to be an adaptation. I know what I'm getting. It's a thing that you can rely on in the marketplace that will return your investment to this degree. The tricky thing that's happening now is that, and I encounter it quite a bit when I'm like, I want to write an original pilot to try to take it to market, and the response will always be, could you do it as a comic book first? And the answer is like, yeah, I could. It's going to add another 1.5 years to it, but because it then becomes IP, it's an easier sell to a studio. And the other side of that is, and I think the first time I really encountered this was with Jessica Jones, which is like, we would like to make a TV show that deals with issues of consent and control and autonomy and authority. Can you use this IP to tell this story you want to tell? What is your version of this that allows you to tell the story that if you wrote it as an original thing, nobody would buy? But if I make it this, then I can fucking, get it through the gauntlet. And so, like, is there smart work being done? Absolutely. Is a lot of it IP based? For sure. Everybody is looking for a thing you can adapt that already belongs in a library. That like, hey, if you've got a version, fucking Ryan Coogler wanted to tell a story about, intergenerational fighters and, cancer and fathers and sons and legacy and whatever. Happens to be Creed is the way that you get to tell that story. It didn't have to be Creed. It didn't have to be that thing. It helps that it is. It gets you over the barriers that it is. But, that is the trick. Like, yes. And for all the reasons Kev said, like, the middle of the cinema market has disappeared. You can make low budget, you can make big budget, but then the middle ground of what used to just be performers, like every movie Denzel Washington was ever in is a movie that would not get made today because what is it? It's a thriller. What is it? It's a romance. What is it? It's an adventure. What is it? It's a legal whatever it is. Philadelphia is not a movie that gets made today.
Right. Unless it's like an 8-episode streaming series.
Right. Like that you could probably do. It would help if it was like, I want to remake Philadelphia as opposed to here's a new thing called Philadelphia.
Right.
It's
true. The name recognition alone for a thing.
Whether or not there's an audience, like Day of the Jackal is not a thing that anybody has any real connection to, but exists as a movie that was based on a book that Paramount has the rights to. So welcome to fucking Day of the Jackal, the miniseries, which apparently is very good, and I get it. But could you just sell them a brand new spy thing? I don't know. It's got to be The Agency, based on the French series called Le Bureau, because it's a piece of IP.
Humongous in chat says, I hate to sound negative, but I don't want to go to the theater to watch a movie or people just standing around talking. I'd rather wait for those. That's fair. That's something I've dealt with, and others like me have dealt with our entire career. Like, I'm an indie filmmaker. That's all I do is people standing around talking. So you're right. Like, if you're going to pay, especially theater prices now, I mean, unless you go to Smodcastle Cinemas, the top price is $10 a ticket, kids.
Boom, boom, boom.
Sometimes you're paying $20, upwards of $25 for a ticket, depending like you're going to see a movie. So I get it. You're paying like almost Broadway theater prices. Hold out for a fucking, something that's big screen worthy and stuff. So I don't bump into that. I'm not like, hey man, you gotta support the little. Gotta do shit, especially when movies cost as much as they do.
Yeah, and it is the evolving marketplace, and it's sad the things that have sort of fallen by the wayside, but it's very, very, very difficult to bemoan it because it doesn't affect it. It doesn't change it. You don't want to be the guy who's wishing for horses when everybody's buying cars. It's like, yeah, listen, man, there's just going to be cars now. Like, I don't know what to tell you, bruv. It's difficult to rally against evolution, and so I wish there was balance. I wish there was more of one, a little less of the other, but it's not as if you can't get either, and so you just have to make peace with it, I think.
Marty landed in chat, says this guy's voice is boring, but he doesn't say which guy he's talking about.
I'm guessing he says me. I'm guessing that's a me thing.
We better clown it up. Hey, kids! I can't get more fucking animated than I am. People are always accusing me of being a fucking like a game show host at this point. So he must be talking about you.
I know, and I love it, dude.
You better do some funny voices. You better start fucking. Come on, Rich Little, do some impressions.
Well, dear boy, I felt it's time for us to be a little more wacky.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark's Brit.
But it's like you tune in at 10:29, 2 hours into 2.5 hour podcast. Like, these guys look sleepy. Yeah, man.
John Haymaker from apropos of nothing in chat said, I miss drive-ins. Remember during the pandemic when it was all about the drive-in?
Yeah.
Like they ruled the roost, man. If you owned a drive-in, you can charge whatever you wanted.
It's like if you owned a drive-in or if you made puzzles.
Yeah.
Suddenly, like the business that looked like it was on its last legs, you were the idiot shouting at the wind. For a year, you were a god again. Yep. All right. Should we go to sleep?
Yeah.
I heard Nerd Large said, do a Dominican accent, Mark. Can you do a Dominican accent? Are you allowed to do a Dominican accent?
I mean, I technically could. I'm allowed to. Technically, my people come from the same island as the Dominican Republic.
So, you got one?
No.
Have you been workshopping a Dominican accent that I don't know about?
Not one that I'm going to do on camera.
Come follow us at the after show, kids, where Mark will debut his Dominican accent.
My Dominican
Beyond Fat Man Beyond is the after show. Follows this.
Like, I still have to go back to New York occasionally. And if I just fuck up a Dominican accent now, I am never getting another cab in that city.
What it needs to be is Mark plays a Dominican in Star Wars and actually gets a line. If that's how you get him to do it for everybody.
Dude,
you write him a line.
The first spoken line. Did you see your wife from Clerks 3 had the first stand-up special for a woman shot at Radio City? Michelle
Buteau. I even though she does not remember me at all,
you'll never forget her.
I will never forget her. I'm always fucking rooting for her. She was a very, very sweet woman, while she just tore me down to the studs.
She was sweet, and she brought the funny, man. We had a guest writer for all her shit.
It was fun to watch, and the singe marks, the flames coming from her eyes, you know, they still left. They left a mark on my heart.
Good choice. Good. God, Marty Landon's back, and he says, "Guy's voice is making me sleepy." Which guy? We can't improve if you don't tell us who needs to improve. Or is this some sort of like psychological test where me and Mark start fighting each other to prove which one has the sleepier voice? Are you playing us? Is this a social puppeteering exercise?
I know.
Maybe he's like back towards the beginning of the show when I was talking about fires. Maybe he's talking about me.
Yeah.
We don't know that he's current with the show.
Right. He could be in the past. Where are you, Marty Landon?
He like falls asleep every time and then wakes up and says, "This guy's voice is making me sleepy," and then not.
Kazori says in chat, "Please, Kevin, invite the hundreds of Beavers filmmakers to your Smodcastle Theater. I would love to screen that movie there. Have you ever seen the trailer for Hundreds of Beavers?
No.
Do yourself a favor when the show's over. Look at it on YouTube. It is. You want to talk about a singular vision? Holy fuck!
I mean, if it's a porn film, then I'm down.
It's not. It's better. More satisfying than a porn film. You'll watch this all the way to the end.
Better than porn?
Yeah, believe it or not.
Inconceivable.
I can't believe it's not porn.
What is with this drama bullshit? What's your problem? You sure it's not porn?
Kids, you enjoy hanging out with me and Mark and JC? Well, this is just the first chance you're going to get to do it in 2025. We'll be doing it again.
Yeah.
Before the end of the month.
I mean, I know you're considering canceling your trial subscription to 2025. It's been a fucking year already, but maybe just stick around for a couple more of these.
Truth, kids. Absolute truth. A lot of folks telling us we did a good job today on the show.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Appreciate that.
You're getting sleepy.
Kids, I'll see you on the East Coast this weekend. If you're coming out to see Mallrats live commentary screening or sing along, the Wicked sing along, that's all this weekend and whatnot. Look forward to seeing you all there for the first events of the Smodcastle Cinema Season 2025. Did you enjoy yourself? Well, you wouldn't have had us were it not for BAMF Man himself. JC, dip in. Yeah, look at that fucking confident wave and shit like that.
Yeah,
How's
man.
the bar, man? And we're not in the bar shooting the show. Last episode we did. Remember Dan Slott? Excellent guest and shit.
Who just
got a big gig.
Big fucking gig. Superman.
They've announced it?
Yeah. Jumped across the street.
So from one S-man to another S-man. He's got a
Did you ever, I read this somewhere, it could be fake, but I read that Spider-Man is Spider-Man because Stan Lee was worried about getting sued because Superman was one word.
Wow.
You guys ever hear that? I read that somewhere.
I did not. I know that Marvel and DC, if I remember this correctly, both hold the trademark or copyright on the term superhero, which I always found interesting. Like one of them didn't beat the other to the punch. They kind of went in hand, if I remember correctly. If I remember my pop culture correctly. Max Flay says, this guy's making me feel tingly down below. Which one? No. There are two of us. There's three of us, and there's a real easy way to identify between all three of us.
Plenty of context cues if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, you don't have to be super creative to point out which one is which. Kids, if you learned anything today, it's because the other guy on the show. Give it up for Marvelous Marc Bernardin.
Oh, thank you, Poppy.
You're welcome. Hang in there, California. Our hearts are with you, and our bodies as well. We're not well-wishing from afar. We're well-wishing from within, which is rather self-serving, I realize. But as Mark pointed out earlier, we're not from here, but we did seek it out.
We came here like every other broken boy, broken creative person looking for their place.
Couldn't validate ourselves, came out here, find some validation.
Indeed.
And we look for, there'll be information I'll put up on my social media feeds for upcoming fundraisers that I'm involved with for try to help people get back on their feet and whatnot.
I think next time we can do a Cantina show, I think we'll also make that a sort of charity function. We'll do some clothes drops, we'll do some whatever, we'll raise some money, we'll send them to the right place, because there's, even when the fires go out, and they're not out yet, lots of people who need lots of help. So the more we can help, the more everybody can help, the better.
There it is, kids. There's your Fat Man Beyond After the Fire edition, man, right from here in the heart of Los Angeles.
Indeed.
Many thanks for hanging out, kids. Tune in next time for Fat Man Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Marc Bernardin.
Tune in next time. Same Fat time, same Fat channel, smodcast.com or
youtube.com/Kevin Smith.
Jeff's kiss to all of you, but especially California. Mwah. This is the cat. Greetings, everybody, and welcome to the AKA Ask Kev Anything.
Every saga has a 10-year anniversary, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what happens when Jay and Silent Bob get old. I'm Kevin.